Well, what's up, guys? Sensei Toot here with the in-depth look at Bitcoin for you guys. I got enough Twitter love that that I'm going to do this, and I'm glad that you did because I think it's very much worth the time here, and I think that people can take away good things from this. So I already recorded this once, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit quicker and a little bit more upbeat than that one because while I gave a lot of good information, I was bored, so I know you guys would probably be bored too. So let's kick right off. As you guys saw from the last little short Twitter video, my macro has not changed. Ever since back here, we knew this would be a W. Who knew this was going to be a crazy double 3X, but W, X, and then a Y, a zigzag combo. Zigzag, correct that, zigzag. Well, just based on that, we have not finished this zigzag. Let's look at the rest. So everyone wants to compare 2014 to now as a fractal, right? Well, is that should we be doing that? I don't know, but let's do it real quick just for fun. What do you see here? You see a clear 1, 2, 3. What can I associate that with here? 1, 2, 3. This one's much more sharp than this one. This looks like they got potentially even a diag or something out of here. Who knows? But essentially, just zoom this far out. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And because this was so sideways, for the first actionary wave, this was much shorter in time. So we had and then we had correction. So 1, 2, 3, correct. 1, 2, 3, correct. All that correct. And if anybody thinks this is actionary, the straight sideways move, that's nice, but it's not. So, and then you get 1, 2, 3 off that correction. What do we get off this correction? 1, 2, or just 1 down in this. If you're a bull, this is it right here. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. Where's the 2, 3? So just looking at it from that perspective, I would say not finished. Okay. Let's look at it so let's do some Fibonacci time analysis. And Fibonacci time is useful, but it's I in my opinion, Fibonacci retracements and Fibonacci extensions, those are all pretty rough guidelines anyway, as far as to what you can expect to happen. I know a lot of people are like, at least our students are, like, exactly what percentage of the time is a wave 2 going to hit 786? In what market? In crypto, on what exchange? What pair? It's everything has its own characteristics. So that sort of data, when people do give it to you guys, I'd be very suspect of it. You should use these things as pretty general. So, the numbers that Elliott Wave International gives are good, but guess what? They're fair. They'll tell you it's pretty general in their assessment. So, that's the way you have to think of probabilities. You can't know that, we're going to get to 786 wave 2 every 77.3% of the time. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. This is too complex. This is the real world. Doesn't work like that. Anyway, but so Fibonacci time, I would say, is even more rough than Fibonacci measurements as far as in price, but it's useful. It's a useful tool. So let's do time zone first. I'm going to start at the first day of Bitcoin to that first swing high. And this is obviously the 1, and then this is half of the first time zone. So this is 1.5. And that pegged that correction pretty much on the tick almost. So let's do this next swing. Look at that. It didn't peg it exactly. Like I said, these are rough, but it was pretty close to a 1.5, halfway through the time zone. Right on the time zone, halfway through the time zone. So we've got this in history twice now. What does that tell us about this? That we should probably at least hit this, right? Maybe to the tick, maybe a little short of it, but get around that. Most likely to it or through it. Just judging on these. So let's go ahead and draw that. Low, high. Look at that. Not even close, right? Not even close. Interesting. So I would say that this we can put in our column of probably not done yet. Okay, let's go on and do, since, and I'm not saying right here what we're correcting, whether we're correcting, whether this is correcting all of this, or whether this is just correcting, this, or whether, yeah. So it could be, there's different macro counts. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't really think that's it, just because this slope is, the steepest slope. I personally think we're probably correcting all of that. But since so many people want to relate these, then let's go ahead and do some Fibonacci time extensions. So let's just do the impulse wave first. So low to high to the low is 1.5 extension. And that's not a Fibonacci number again, but that's what we had, roughly of 1.5. Little bit. This was actually a little bit longer than 1.5 times of this. So then you would expect that potentially the correction is going to be a little bit longer than 1.5 times the correction, right? So let's take a look. Not even close. Interesting, right? And if you want to change it to an actual fib number, a lot of people use 0.5, but when they're talking Fibonacci, it's not an actual fib number. You could do well, obviously you could do 1.618 goes there, or like a 1.236 or a 387. Let's do that. Or I'm sorry, 382. So yeah, even if you want to go real Fibonacci numbers, we're still well short. So this is the 1618, this is the 1382, this is the fib time zone. Everything's short here. All right. Well, what about Fibonacci price? Okay. So let's just look at this. If we're thinking that this is a double zigzag and that this is the makings of a double zigzag, of course, if you're a bull, I'm not sure you think this is a double zigzag. You probably do, potentially. But your count would be a little different within here. So let's measure it, right? This 3 here, 1, 2, 3, the length of that, from the correction of that, is, look, 618. So not the highest probability relationship. This is the second highest probability relationship for a W to a Y. Let's just see if this guideline. Yep, follows guidelines. This is a perfect double zigzag. The ratio, break the trend channel, looks great. So what do we have here then? Let's measure. Oh, well, actually, I already measured. The length of this W from the Y is, there's your 1-to-1. We can throw a 618 on here. Probably did hit that. Oops, that's got to be the, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This from here, this is the 382. 618 is off the chart. We can't hit 1-to-1, and we can't hit 618 extension of W to Y because they're less than 0. So what is the next most probable relationship? It'd be 382. So 382 extension, where this is dividing all of this by the golden ratio. So very common in fractals. So anyway, you would expect to hit this with the W to the Y. Have not done that. Even if you want to change your count around, let's see. Even if you want to change your count around to where I guess you wouldn't measure from here, maybe you'd measure from here. Okay, in that case, is that, I'm not sure what the bulls are doing. I guess they're measuring, I think they're measuring from here. In that case, you would hit the 382. So, but, I just don't find that count to be my favorite. So I guess you do at least have this in your court if you're measuring from your bull measurements when you're on your bull count. But, on the bear count, you don't. And I do think, again, that this is all sideways and correcting, and this is not actionary. Well, it is an actionary wave in my count. It's just not actionary to this degree of correction. It's actionary within this sideways. Anyway, getting boring again for you guys. I'm sorry, but talking about important things. So according to Fibonacci time, we're short. According to Fibonacci price, we're short. Okay. So also, if you want to think about important Elliott guidelines, if you count this out, I have this as the wave 4 of this impulse. It's, it's hard to count. I'm not going to do it here just because I can't even remember. I'll have it, but I know that this is the wave 4. And where is a correction likely to end, or especially minimum to end, is the area of wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. We're short. Haven't made it yet, boys. Got close. We got close, but we didn't get there. So, and most often the terminus of that wave 4 is where it could potentially turn around. Again, that's more of a minimum guideline, not necessarily a maximum. You could go beneath that. So very interesting. And that's, of course, if you're considering this is the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. Some might consider that the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. Not going there right now. Anyway, still short, no matter what you're saying. We're short here. Now, what else do we use? I like to use geometry. Pitchfork is my favorite, as I tell you guys all the time. And of course, when you draw these guys, you want to have the pivots exact. But, for right now, time constraints, this is already going to be a boring vid for you guys. Most of you are probably gone already. But, so, won't do it exactly, but look at this pitchfork. We had a nice pivot, 3 pivots here to put a pitchfork on, and then and of course in a trending market I like to do the shift, and a long term especially. What happened here? We rode up the outer parallel, we hit the median line twice, and then moved on. Once, twice, and then retest the last time, gone. That's Andrew's principles to a T, boys. And then what happened? Well, we fell down out of it beyond this outer parallel that we rode all the way up, and actually came out to this second parallel, and almost to that second parallel before we, resumed our bull trend, quote unquote. But, probably didn't know that at the time right here. But essentially got down close to and broke this outer parallel. Let's see what happens on this next one. So low, high, low. Man, I got to zoom in on this one. I can't see the low. Sorry, guys. In my last video, I did the pitchforks first. Should have done that this time. All right, so we'll call this top close enough, bottom close enough. All right, so what happens? Well, we ride pretty much that outer parallel up, right? All the way up, hit the median line once, break through it, come back down, test it again, and we're falling out. Interesting, guys. And look, we've actually broken that outer parallel, just as we did here. And what did we do when we broke it here? We came back and we almost tested it, came up into the area of it before we were rejected. What are we doing here? Testing it. And then, of course, we came out to here, this outer parallel. What we have here, the outer parallel. Interesting, guys. So if this is the fractal of this, and this came out to here, you would expect that to happen again, right? We haven't done it. So just from a macro looking at it perspective, to me, the odds stack up against the bulls. And if you are a bull and you've done this type of analysis, I would love to see what you've got, because I would like a better case for the bulls in my mind. There is the count that Sam has that I think is the only bullish count with merit, really, from an Elliott perspective. But when you zoom more out, it's not my favorite. So, but I will certainly not discount it. Certainly not. He is the trade devil for a reason. So real quick before we go into closer up price action, just another look at the macro count one more time. W, and then W, X, Y, X, Y. On Bitfinex, the triangle Y, I have this zigzag, and then an X, and then a triangle. On Bitfinex, this triangle is invalid. It's not important. It's sideways, right? So whatever you want to count it as. It's valid on enough exchanges that's my primary, and that's what I'm sticking with. Especially since when you get the W zigzag and then an X, and then for a triple sideways, a triangle is commonly the Y in that pattern. So I'm happy with that. So this is the macro count, where had the A. Move that over. So one of you guys didn't like that on Twitter last week. Move that over for the A, and then B's getting put in, and then we got to go C, right? So this needs to complete A, B, C. Here's that 382 from the last chart I told you guys about. And this is on Bitfinex. It's around $1,600 on Bitfinex. So I guess other exchanges would probably be closer to like 12. Anyway, let's go in here and look. As far as an Elliott perspective, there's not a lot of clarity in here. And there's a few different things that would have, in my opinion, for the bears, merit. The one that you see here is what I think is the most probable, by, a little bit, but it's hard to say. What do we see? So we do have this as an A. I think this is a clear impulse. It's hard to see it as a three wave. There is one of these counts that has to see it as a three wave. We'll get into that in a second. But I see the clear impulse, corrective, and then we thought that was an impulse, but that could actually even be a zigzag. This is where there's a lack of clarity. But let's say impulse for this count that was short. And this is where I got real bearish, because we were showing divergence. We had an impulse without an extension. It looked to me like a potentially truncated C wave. And I wasn't really sold on it because at the time, because truncated C waves are extremely rare and you should really only consider them in retrospect. Well, I didn't do that. And then all of this in here looks corrective and still does. So I got real hypey that this would be a 2 and go down. So I took a trade on it. I didn't go outside of my personal trading risk profile. I hope no one else did. But I hate making calls that are wrong. And without at least, and I was very convinced that I would not be wrong, and I was. So did not like doing that. And in this case, I will not do that again because the count is not clear. This was not a C, right? So does it mean it wasn't 5 wave? No, it could have been 5 wave. Could be 1, 2, working on 3, 4, 5. And I think that's most likely. But it has its issues. Again, no extension in this wave, right? Draw the base trend channel. Where's your 2 wave? Is it here? Is it here? Depends on what you have it. Let's just say, for argument's sake, here. You really shouldn't break that base trend significantly with the wave 3 from the 0 to the 2. And no matter how you draw this, you do a pretty significant break of it. So you have issues there. And then, of course, you draw it from the 1, and you should expect to bust out of that trend for a wave 3, which we did do, fell back in, and still are within that channel. So is this a C? Is this a 3? Hard to tell. I think that worst case scenario, this yellow count will play out to where we get one leg up to here, depending on what your count is. Again, I think the teal count is probably has the edge slightly of the other counts. The other potential counts are that that this would be a W, X, A, B, C. If that's the case, you end here. Again, at that point, you have to take this somehow as a zigzag structure. I hate it. This has always been my alternative, and I hated it then, and I hate it now. So there's that. But and then there's, of course, another count. Some people, I've seen people have this as a triangle. No, it's not a triangle. This is definitely not a triangle, but it seems corrective regardless. And it's not easy to count. I can't tell you what pattern it is with conviction. So if you're calling it a triangle, okay, but then you're calling this a zigzag, which I can tell you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's an impulse. But anyway, I don't want to totally discount it because that will have price turnover here, which there's a lot of significant price resistance. There's another count that another one of my members has. He's a pretty good student. When I first heard the count, I threw up in my mouth a little bit, not gonna lie. And I still don't like it, but I can't totally discount it. He's calling this a triangle. A, B, C, D, E. Why did I throw up in my mouth? Well, because if we draw roughly the trend lines for this triangle, extend them back to the origin that A. The triangle's bigger than the freaking A. Triangle's supposed to be a light retracement of the wave it's retracing. It's kind of shit, right? But can I discount it completely? Let's see. Each successive wave retraces the previous wave by at least 55%. Let's see if the alternating waves are 618 relationship. No, I would say not. Maybe. No. Not that those further ones aren't, but don't want to make it too long. So we're not violating any rules or potential guidelines here. And again, this looks like a clear 5 wave, but is it? I mean, it channels perfectly as an impulse. Or I'm sorry, as a zigzag. Could this be an A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I mean, hard to say with conviction, right? So in that case, this would be a corrective, and then what would happen out of that? An impulse. So that would be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be if this was a triangle as it says, it would be over potentially. And of course, you don't measure post triangle thrust for a zigzag. You just measure high probability relationship 1 to 1. Yeah, so it would be completely over now. If you just straight went on that count, I don't think it is. I think we at least come up to here, but I don't want to discount it. I wanted to point it out, tell you why I didn't like it. But I won't totally discount it and say that price can't potentially be going 1, working on 2 and 3 to come. So from an Elliott perspective, we're pretty unclear here. So again, that pushes us towards the bear count of corrective. When things are confusing and unclear, it's usually a correction. But I would like to come up. I think that this is the most probable count. I don't know if this plays out to these high probability extensions. Maybe they're real short. But what happens if we do go on that count? Wave 4 here, wave 4 here, wave 4 here. What are wave 4s? Slow and sideways. I'm expecting slow and sideways, guys. And of course, we'll get a push up out of it. And then, all the bulls would be, having their bull porn. But then we could potentially get rejected. This price level, this pip price action level, and this Fibonacci retracement level for an algo play are significant. Sure, we've hit the 50 on all the other exchanges, but the 50 on Bitfinex is significant to the Bitcoin market. If you don't think so, I'm sorry. Let's take a look at that. So again, primary, but very well could turn over here. And let's go look at why this 50 is important, and I'll leave you guys off with that. And just go to a less cluttered chart. So we have this algo, 52, almost the tick. And, I like to say that to the tick is not expected in trading, but, it does happen pretty commonly. And then rejected hard to the 50 again, rejected super hard. And what happened? Came down, made target, perfectly made target, and then price died out. So you don't think there's a big algo in play here? Well, what happens when this algo happens and then you retrace off of it? Well, it takes the next 50 swing. So you could potentially pull from, this is your swing low. And then from the next swing, you could pull here, but, we're not getting that. But we'll take the next swing high. And where's the 50 off this swing? Because this would have broke it. This would have broke it. Where's the next swing high? Right there. Haven't touched it yet. If you don't think it's important to take a look at that, that's interesting to me. Of course, you have this one here as well, but you wouldn't have made target on this guy until here. So he would look to re-enter here. Potentially. You never know with algos, how they're playing it, how they're written. You just try to track them. But from the most basic sense of how we teach algos, entered here, profit here. He's entering again here, profit right in that box. All right, guys. Sorry, I know this is long and boring, but I think it was important. I think we covered a lot of good things. Bulls, I would love to see your macro analysis. I would love to, and I'll give you credit for it if I like it. And I would love to have a stronger macro bull case in my pocket so that, you know, I can be prepared for it if it does happen. Still pretty strongly convicted that we do go down for this C. How we get there is always the fun part, right, guys? All right, Toot signing out.